Speed games and their communities can vary in their sizes, with some having thousands of speedruns and hundreds of active players, while others might just be one person lowering their PB. Even so, they all have the same goal: beating their game of choice as quickly as possible. In the modern age, however, games can be updated and re-released, and while many communities might stick with the old versions, some might decide to take the plunge and start running the new version. Today, we'll be covering one of these communities, so get comfy as we look at the world record progression of There Is No Games polished mobile category. Before we properly start, we'll need to discuss the old mobile category. For the most part, it's near identical to the web version, with the majority of strategies being identical between the two. However, the lack of competition due to people preferring the web version and the unpolished nature of the game led to the world record remaining undeveloped, with only 3 people achieving a sub-3, them being Music Rock, Fion Freezy, and Gianni Blood, who would set the final world record in the category with a 3:45.5 on November 11, 2018, improvement of some 3.5 minutes over the first world record, a 7:21 from Eric Gaming from March of 2016. On July 22, 2019, the mobile game was updated with a massive update, becoming much more polished in comparison with its older version. With this, XC Vaser would create a new polished category, with the first world record technically being a 4:56 from Hawk Aussie, though this was submitted before the community was aware of the update. Immediately, competition began, with XC Vaser and Fion Freezy sharing their times in chat, though the first recorded time would be Fion Freezy's 4:10, which would become the first world record on the leaderboard, being set on July 22, 2019. It was your standard run, but I do want to note the game to go to tree pattern in the letter assembly section, which wouldn't be the last time we see this pattern, alongside his breakout phase. Now, breakout is a standout part of the run due to the fact that the luck you get during this portion of the run can vary wildly. The main way to advance is first by getting 1500 points to trigger the first piece of dialogue, and 3000 points to trigger the second piece of dialogue and the glitches, then 4400 points to clear the level, get the trophy to carry on with the game. The thing is, this game is wildly inconsistent, with there being a large amount of luck involved in how quickly you can get rid of the blocks, how they spawn in the second phase, and even then, the second phase can randomly begin at 1500 points rather than the normal 3000 points. Overall, Breakout was a make or break point in the run, and was a key split between top and middle level runs, both due to the dedication and various strategies developed over time to combat the luck involved. Fion's run was a solid run all around, but it was definitely improvable, and the next day would be beaten by the Apple Man by about a second with a 4:09 run. Aside from some slightly better gameplay and the use of squirrel skip, this run used the tree to go to game strategy rather than typing game first in the letter section, a strategy that would become the preferred way to play for much of the community. Even still, with a new speed game, records were bound to be coming in fast and hot, and 2 days later the run would be lowered by some 5 seconds with a 4:04.87 run from Music Rock. This run had a much better breakout section but did not include squirrel skip. Apparently it was bad enough that Croc left a comment on his submission reading, "Garbage run, sub 4 is free." Despite this proclamation, sub 4 wouldn't come for a long time. In fact, most of the categories at the time saw a lack of world records for nearly a year, with the most activity coming from the new Steam categories added in March 2020, though by May of the year, the amount of runs on the board had nearly quadrupled. It was about time for a new record, and Music Rock would deliver. On June 12, 2020, around the same time that achievements were added to the mobile game, Music Rock would achieve a 4:03.414, finally breaking his record a month and a half before the 1-year anniversary. While once again well executed, a heartbreaking mess up on the letters prevented him from getting to sub 4. Once again, that run would stay as a record as the community saw several world records set on the web and Steam version of the game. But the wait for the next mobile world record would be much shorter, as a 4:02.097 would be achieved on October 1st by Orange Juice 9878. This run featured much more cleaner letters and the use of the tree to game to goat strategy, which is the only mobile world record to ever use this strategy before, and a solid breakout, but still, it barely missed the sub 4 mark. The trend of waits between world records being shorter and shorter would continue, as the Nameless, who you might know for his prowess within the mobile speedrunning community, would begin seriously going for the record, and in just 1 week, he would get the world record with a 4:02.067. As the chat celebrated the new record, discussion about sub 4 was brought up, and the Nameless showed that his sum of best was a free 56.52. Not only was sub 4 possible, but there was nearly 3.5 seconds of wiggle room to get it. The grind for sub 4 would start in earnest, and Nameless would head it. Next week, Nameless would continue his grind, getting a 4:00.467 time in his next run, and later off showing a sub 40 second breakout individual level record, meaning he now had a free 53 sum of best, meaning not only could he beat sub 4, he could destroy it. And on October 14th, he would get it, and subsequently accidentally deleted the clip. While upset, he quickly got back into the action, and some 15 hours later, he would upload the first sub 4 in the polished category, which was deemed to be a free 59 flat. Even with such a monumental record, he lost out of the early water save, costing him 3 or 4 seconds. So not only was sub 4 possible, but it would be quite easy to lower it to an even lower time. With a record like this, however, saving time wasn't exactly a priority, so the community went back to its usual relaxed self, at least in terms of mobile progression. However, players such as Cuber, an established web and mobile runner who held high runs in the web community, Safik Hedge, a runner new to There Is No Game, who had previous experience speedrunning with the Cooking Mama franchise, would begin playing the category, with their first runs clocking in at an impressive 404.633 for Cuber and a more modest 520.267 for Safik. While the leaderboard slowly grew, Nameless decided to come out of retirement, and he would set a free 58.138 far later, on December 4th, 2020, losing once again 3 seconds to the letters being posed right in front of the key at the end of the run. Now, while his previous sub-3 was barely beaten after 3 months, this record would be beaten much quicker and by a drastically bigger margin, as the very next day he would get a free 54.167. All the problems from his previous runs were gone. This was the most solid gameplay in a record so far. There were a couple of mistakes, but for the excitement you'd feel in that situation, it would be forgivable. Even with an impressive time like that, there'd still be competition to face. But hey, it's a free 54. How long would it take to beat that, right? Could be a year or even shorter. As it turned out, Cuber had really been grinding, and a bit over 2 weeks later, he'd get his first sub 4 with a free 57. Even then, he was still just over 3 seconds behind Nameless's run. How much could he shorten that gap with his next PB? Cuber would skirt by Nameless's free 54.167 by 1/6 of a second with a free 54 flat, set the day after his free 57 PB. Mixed with the hype of There Is No Game hitting 300 active players, partially because of Easy Speed's video on the game. It really was a big day for everyone, though Nameless wasn't too happy with the new world record. At this point, the community was booming, and other categories such as the web and Steam version would begin to see new world records set by players such as Slatke, The First Oreo, and Zestic. For all this, the top 5 of Polish mobile would change nearly daily, but by the time of Cuber's 353.433, the top 5 consisted of Cuber, Nameless, and Safik, among others. However, once again, this record wouldn't last long, as Safik, who has become one of the best players of There Is No Game, had managed to get a free 51.071 on February 11th, 2021. If it weren't for his mess up on unlocking the GOAT, it could have very easily been a sub-50 run. With time so close to another barrier, the community started running the category again, and 18 days later, Fidge SB would finally break the barrier with a free 48.667. While the record was impressive, another runner had their eyes on the sub-50 mark, Bonzo Cup 123, who had exploded onto the mobile scene with an impressive 405 run first back in February. 3 weeks later, he was a genuine contender for the world record, and he would capitalize on this potential very soon. On April 10th, the 2-month anniversary of his first run, Bonzo would get a free 48.033, beating the record by just half a second, in part due to his nut catch near the end, a strategy that wasn't really shown to be useful at the time until his run. And that would be the end of the story if it wasn't for just one more run. On April 15th, Bonzo would accomplish the run of his life, managing to trigger the glitch phase in just 17 seconds and clearing the board in barely over a minute. It was a clean run with squirrel skip, early tree, and nut catch, a culmination of the community's efforts, and as you'd expect, everyone's enthralled by the run, which still stands today. Even then, the record isn't set in stone, and the hunt for sub 30 is still in full force. Why not join the community and be a part of the journey? Thanks for watching.
Okay, Humbug, I finished editing the video. Now what? Do I get to go home? Yeah, just for a bit. Now, first, I gotta say special thanks. Special thanks to Gianni Blood and Bonzo Cop for helping me with some of the information
Wait,
I showed
do
off
I-
in the
do
video.
I not get to go
Especially
home?
Bonzo Cop who helped me. Yeah, of course not. Just stay with me for a bit.
Wait, no.
A bit depends on your definition, of course. Be quiet. Anyway, so thank you to Bonzo Cop for helping me with all the information regarding the strats used in the polished mobile version,
Bruh.
and Johnny Blood for talking to me about the old version of the game. And a special thanks to the community as a whole for just being really warm, inviting, and also helping me with the script once I finished it. And I guess thank you to Roni for editing this.
Bruh.
Kinda. Just a bit of a thank you.
I got brain rot
Don't
from
worry.
recording this. I know nothing about. I know barely anything about this game. Anyways,
Yeah,
if you have
I'm
an
gonna
issue
force
with how the
play it,
video was
Ronnie.
edited, make sure to blame Humbug and not me, because he told me to edit it the way it was.
No, blame him! Blame him! Please
Bye.
blame him! I have enough.